What's up guys, this is Noe Kiamko and I am a student from CTU Danao Campus, a BSE student, and karon no, ako yung instructor para sa subject nga PE3. So sa mga mukuha nga PE3, wala na siguradong pasar na. So stay tuned guys, kaya itong i-discuss tanan nga topic nga na-include sa PE3 nga subject. So what are we waiting for? Tara, sugod na ta! Again, maayong adlaw natong tanan no. So karon ato nang i-discuss ang mga topics nga naa sa PE3. So makita nato diri sa screen kini sila mao ni ang topic na ato ang ma-tackle karon sa ato ang lesson. We have 15 lessons sa kini nga PE3. So you can pause the video guys if kanang ganahan mo mubasa usa sa ato ang lessons nga atong possible lessons sa kini nga subject karon. I-discuss tigni tanan karon para sure pasar na gimo. Lesson number 1. Olympics. History of Olympics. In order for us to survive, we must have to keep ourselves physically fit by running, jumping, or by throwing activities. The Greeks were the first to formulate games involving the fundamentals of track and field, exemplified in the Olympics, which began in the 776 BC during the Golden or the Homeric Age.
In 776 BCE, it was the first recorded evidence of the ancient Olympic Games, wherein there was only one event, the men's 200-meter sprint.
From the Greeks, they have running, jumping, and weight-throwing events. From running events, they have sprints, hurdles, relays, and the distance runs. In jumping events, they have long jump, the triple jump, the high jump, and the pole vault. And then in the weight-throwing events, they have the shot put, the discus throw, and the javelin throw. Nga hangtod karon bisan sa atong panahon, pabiling gyapon siya nga even karon in the present times ni-exist gyapon siya nga mga events. Lesson 2. Sprints. Sprints are the short distance runs for the fastest over all times. Sprints races were also part of the ancient Greek Olympics and were also part of the first modern games in 1896. Sprinters remains in a crouching positions in starting blocks and remains in the same lane throughout the race.
A crouch start is a type of body position that sprinters take up before beginning the race. There are 3 sprint commands. On your marks, set, go! There are 6 rules of sprinting technique. 1 is run with the hands moving from the hips. 2. Maintain a 90-degree bend of the elbows. 3. Keep the shoulders square. 4. Pull the knees straight up. And 5. Run by striking the ground directly below the hips. And lastly, run on the balls of the feet.
Lesson 3. The middle and the long distance runs. Middle distance events are composed of 800-meter run and the 1,500-meter run. Runners start from a standing position staggered along a curved line and then head for the inside lane. In 800-meter races, runners must stay in their own lane for the first 100 meters. While in long distance events, it is composed of 5,000-meter race and the 10,000-meter race. Races are similar to middle distance competitions. Lesson 4. The hurdles and relays. So kini siya mas lisod gin siya kaysa atong naguna katong sprints and katong middle and long distance runs kay ang hurdles and relays are more complicated than just running ra siya. Kini siya need ni siya focus, maybe daghan ginato ang wala kasway aning hurdles and ining relays nga events sa track and field. So, unsa may rules ani nila di ay? Hurdles feature obstacles about 1 meter high spaced every 9 meters. So, runners lost time when they knock over a hurdle and can be disqualified if they are missing one. Relays. So, kining relays is a team event that is composed of 4 players nga with same sex. So, lahi ang babae, lahi ang lalaki. So, kini siya na sila gitawag magda sila gitawag og baton nga ilang ipasa sa ilang teammates and ilag yung ilikayan nga matagak ni kay once matagak ang baton kay they will be disqualified ang whole team. So dapat ang baton ampingan gina.
Sana all ampingan.
Lesson 5. So diri sa lesson 5 ari na magsugod ang racket sport events nga ang pinakauna is ang common kaayo diri sa ato nga gitawag og badminton. So ang badminton mo siya ang racket or racket sports event implement consisting of a handled frame with an open hoop across which a network of strings or catgut is stretched tightly. It is used for striking a ball or what we call a shuttlecock. So ang badminton is a racket sport played using racket to hit a shuttlecock across a net. Badminton has its origin in ancient civilization in Asia and in Europe with a game called battledore, that is a bat or a paddle and a shuttlecock. The game was played in India during the 18th century, at which time it was called the puuna. British Army officers learned the game in India about 1870. In 1873, the Duke of Beaufort introduced the game. With the name badminton comes from a stately home in England. Lesson 6. So diri sa lesson 6 mo ni siya ang badminton part 2, which is the strategies and skills. Literally muduwa jud mo og badminton og inyong i-test kung unsa mo kamaayo muduwa ani nga sport.
There are 10 rules of badminton. First, a game starts with a coin toss. Whoever wins the toss gets to decide whether they would serve or receive first. Second, at no time during the game should the player touch the net. Third, the shuttlecock should not be carried on or come to rest on the racket. Fourth, a player should not reach over the net to hit the shuttlecock. Fifth, a serve must carry across court or diagonally to be valid. Sixth, during the serve, a player should not touch any of the lines of the court until the server strikes the shuttlecock. During the serve, the shuttlecock should always be hit from below the waist. 7. A point is added to a player's score as and when he wins a rally. 8. A player wins a rally when he strikes the shuttlecock and it touches the floor of the opponent's side of the court or when the opponent commits a fault. The most common type of fault is when a player fails to hit the shuttlecock over the net or it lands outside the boundary of the court. 9. Each side can strike the shuttlecock only once before it passes over the net. Once hit, a player can strike the shuttlecock in a new movement or shot. Scoring in a badminton match. A match consists of the best of 3 games of 21 points. Every time there is a serve, there is a point scored. The side winning a rally adds a point to its score. At 20 all, the side which gains a 2-point lead first wins the game. At 29 all, the side scoring the 30th point wins the game. The side winning a game serves first in the next game.
So in playing badminton, there are 9 skills nga imuhang ma-develop. Number 1, makahibaw din ka unsa ang pag-warm up properly. Number 2, makahibaw kas basic nga backhand o forehand nga grips. Number 3, makahibaw kas basic nga footworks which is the 6 corners footwork. Number 4, the split step and the ready stance. And number 5 is the basic shots. Number 6, perception and anticipation. Meaning number 6 is mo focus siya more sa imuhang analyzation nga before ni buhat og lihok ang imong kontra imo nang na-analyze kung unsay ang plano ug asa padung ang shuttlecock. So good thing. Number 7, the hand and eye coordination. Mao ni siya ang ability nga mo control sa between sa coordination sa imuhang mata ug sa imuhang lihok nga possible kung sa mo nakita nga maigo ba ni ron or maabot ba ni nimo, so ma-develop ang coordination sa imuhang nakita o sa imuhang lihok. Number 8, rhythm and timing. And lastly, number 9, the tactical and strategic thinking. Lesson 7, it is another racket sport that is what we call the tennis. Tennis game was developed from a 12th century French handball called palm. In this game, the ball was struck with the hand, so wala pa sila racket ato nga tayma. Kamot pa ilahang gigamit. So at first, kining game nga tennis, gibuhat ni sila European monks for entertainment purposes during ceremonial occasions. So kato nga time ilang gigamit is kamot pa para paghapok sa bula. Then later on naka-develop sila leather gloves nga mo ilang gigamit. Then later on pa dayon gibutangan din nila handles nga para sa mas better nga pag-igo sa bula. So that was the birth of a tennis racket. So dili lang kay ang racket ra sa tennis ang ni-evolve no. So hasta sad ang ball sa tennis kay at first ilahang ball is made of wood, then later on ilahang gihimong from cellulose material para more bouncy siya. Kini nga game nahimo siyang sikat nga bisan si King Louis V na matay siya human ni duwa og grabe kaayo ani nga game. Pero dili na wala na nahimong hinungdan nga muwagtang ang kasikat aning duaa. Instead, it is highly regarded by the kings and noblemen in the 16th and 18th century. The French players started the game by shouting tennis, or it also means play. So mo na siya ang kanang origin of the name tennis. And in the year 1896, ang tennis nahimo na gid siyang usa ka core sports sa modern Olympic Games. Lesson 8 is all about gyapon siya sa tennis, but more on focusing sa imong strategies and skills in playing tennis.
Rules of tennis. The game starts with a coin toss to determine which player must serve first and which side they want to serve from. The server must then serve each point from alternative sides on the baseline. At no point must be the server's feet move in front of the baseline on the court prior to hitting their serve. If the server fails to get their first serve in, they may take advantage of the second serve. If they again fail to get their second serve in, then a double fault will be called and the point lost. If the server clips the net but the ball goes in the server's area, still then let is called and they get to take that serve again without penalty. If the ball hits the net and fails to go in the service area, then out is called and they lost that serve. The receiver may stand where they wish upon receipt of the serve. If the ball is struck without the serve bouncing, then the server will receive the point. Once a serve has been made, the amount of shots between the players can be unlimited. The point is won by hitting the ball so the opponent fails to return it in the scoring areas. Points are awarded in scores of 15, 30, and 40. 15 represent 1 point, 32, and 43. You need 4 points to win a game. If a game lands on 40-40, it's known as deuce. From deuce, a player needs to win 2 consecutive points to win the game. After winning 1 point from deuce, the player is in advantage. If the player wins the next point, they win the game. If they lose, it goes back to deuce. The serve is done by tossing the ball into the air and striking it with a racket. The serve must be struck before the ball bounces, and it must land in a service box diagonally opposite the server. The server gets 2 chances to get a serve in. If he misses both, he loses the point. To win the set, a player must win 6 games by 2 or more. The opening sets will go to a tie-break if it ends up to 6-6, where players play first to 7 points. The final set will not have a tie-break and requires players to win by 2 games with no limits. If a player touches the net, distracts his opponent, then they automatically lose the point. The ball can't hit any part of the line for the point to be called in. Outside the line and the ball is out. The balls in a tennis match are changed for new balls every 6 games. A player loses a point if they fail to return the ball in either the correct areas of the court, hits the net and doesn't go into opponent's area, or fails to return the ball before it bounces twice in their half. There are 3 foundation skills for tennis. First is footwork. Footwork is the true way to prepare for a shot and allows the player to be in a position to follow through with form and technique. Second is serving. A proper tennis serve stance is when your feet are positioned so that the front foot is pointing towards the right net post and the back foot is parallel to the baseline. The platform serve stance is where the feet remain in the same position throughout the whole service motion. Lastly, the forehand and backhand strokes. To be a strong player, serve, forehand, and backhand are important and effective. However, from a mature level, no one could play tennis game without lob and overhead. Those skills can be used attack skills, but mostly, they used as a defensive skills to get few seconds to get ready for the next stroke.
Lesson 9. So, ang lesson 9 is also kuan gyapon siya racket sports nga gitawag og table tennis. So table tennis is also called as ping pong that it is similar principle to lawn tennis and is played on a flat table divided by a net. So ang sport nga table tennis nga originally name niya is ping pong, gikan gyapon niya sa England in the early days of 20th century. So ang sport nga table tennis gi-invent niya ni David Foster katong when he introduced the first action game of tennis on a table in the year 1890. Lesson 10 is still all about table tennis but test gyapon nato ang imong strategies and skills when playing table tennis.
Official rules of table tennis. First, games are played to 11 points. A game is played to 11 points and match is generally the best 3 or 5 games. 2. Alternate serves every 2 points. Each side of the table alternates serving 2 points at a time. Only exception is after tied 10-10 or the Dios. Service alternates at every point. 3. Toss the ball straight up when serving. Hold the ball in your open palm behind your end of the table. Toss at least 6 inches straight up and strike it on the way down. The serve can land anywhere in singles, but in doubles, serves must go right court to right court. A serve that touches the net on the way over is a let. If a serve ball hits the net on the way over and otherwise legally bounces in a play, it's a let serve and is done over. Number 7. Alternate hitting in a doubles rally. Number 8. Volleys are not allowed. So dili nimo pwede nga asawon ang bola nga wala pa siya kauntol sa lamisa. Number 9. If your hit bounces back over the net by itself, it is your point. Touching the ball with your paddle hand is allowed. Number 11. You may not touch the table with your non-paddle hand. So pwede ra nimo matouch ang table if katong gamot nga gigamit nimo pag-receive. Once gani na move ang lamisa pero ang hinungdan kay imuhang nagiguptan or imong natandog, it is a point sa imuhang kontra. Number 12. An edge ball bouncing off the horizontal tabletop surface is good, but the vertical sides of the table are not part of the legal playing surface. Number 13. Honor system applies to these agreements. If no referee is present during a match, and the players disagree on a certain call, the honor system applies and the players should find a way to agree or play the point over. Ping pong carries a tradition of fierce but fair play.
Lesson 11. Board games. So first board game nato is chess. Muna siya ang lesson 11. So, ang chess is a 2-player strategy board game played on a checkered board with 64 squares arranged in an 8x8 square grid. So ang pinaka-goal aning duwa nga chess is to trap your opponent's king. So imo siyang i-checkmate ang king sa imuhang kontra. So short history about sa chess, ni-originate ni siya ngadto sa India during the Gupta Empire. So iya pang name ato nga time is Chaturanga, which means the 4 division of the military. Ang infantry, the cavalry, the elephantry, and the chariotry. So karon kay nausab din siya into another form which is the pawn, the rook, the knight, and the bishop respectively.
In playing chess, white is always first to move. Alternate moving one piece at a time. If a player's turn is to move, he is not in check but has no legal moves. This situation is called stalemate. A piece may be moved to another position or may capture an opponent's piece replacing on its square. With the exception of the knight, a piece may not move over it or through any other pieces. When a king is threatened, it is called a check. Checkmate happens when a king is placed on a check and there is no legal moves to escape. Checkmate ends the game and the side whose king was checkmated loses.
Lesson 12. So sa lesson 12, still chess gapon but focuses on your strategies and skills in playing chess.
King. It can move exactly one square horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. Queen. It can move any number of vacant squares diagonally, horizontally, or vertically. Rook. It can move any number of vacant squares vertically or horizontally. Bishop. It can move any number of vacant squares in any diagonal direction. Knight. It can move one square along any rank or file and then at an angle. The knight's movement can also be viewed as an L or 7, laid out at any horizontal or vertical angle. Pawn. It can move forward one square if that square is unoccupied. If it is not yet moved, the pawn has the option of moving two squares forward provided both squares in front of the pawn are unoccupied. A pawn cannot move backward. Pawns are the only pieces that capture differently from how they move.
Chess strategy focuses more on your gameplay. So kung saan mo pag-set o goal, kung saan mo pag-plano, o kung saan mo pag-analyze sa mga moves sa kontra, o kung saan mo pag-capture sa king sa kontra nimo. Lesson 13. Another board game which is called Scrabble. So ang Scrabble nga duwa is composed of a board and a tile nga naay mga letters and it can be played by 2 up to 4 players. Ang Scrabble board is consist of 15 by 15. So kanang nasa siya 100 kabuk tiles nga 98 ani is nasa sila mga letters while ang duha is a blank nga pwede nimo i-substitute og bisag unsa nga letter nga imong ganahan para maka-form ka og words.
There are 7 tricks to help you win your next Scrabble game. First, learn 2 and 3 letter words. Second, create 2 words at once using the letter S. Third, play styles that create common endings or beginnings in the appropriate sides of your track. Fourth, look for hooks. Fifth, head for the hotspots. Sixth, save some combination of the letters A, E, I, L, N, R, S, T. And lastly, learn Q without U words.
History of Scrabble. In the year 1929, ang America ni suffer siya great nga depression. So daghan kayong biktima ana nga time. Pero in the year 1933, naikap mapog solution ang usa ka architect nga si Alfred Mosher Batts. Nag-imbento siya og game para mo-lift up ang kanang mga spirits sa mga biktima sa depression. In order nga mo-come up siya ani nga game, na siya 3 ka categories nga i-consider. 3. Number 1 is number games such as the bingo o ang kanang domino. Number 2 is ang move games such as ang chess o ang checkers. Then lastly is ang word games such as katong anagrams. So nindot kayo ang nahuna-hunaan ni Bats no kay iyara ni na-invent nga game during sa katong nakaka-face sila o katang problems ilang country. So kato na-invent ra niya tungod ato niya pero until now kay present og naghapon ang iyang invent nga game. Lesson 14. So ang lesson 14 guys is mao ni siya ang sungka. So ang sungka guys kay sikat kini siya nga traditional game sa Pilipinas so ato ang country. So mao ni siya ang kanang silbi entertainment games kanang kalingawan sa mga pamilya matag kanang magpundok-pundok sa una. So it involves kanang counting and kanang capturing sa kanang mga stones niya. Ibutang siya ngadto sa canoe shaped board nga called og sungkaan. Ang sungka guys kay mo ni siya ang giduwa ni siya sa wooden nga block nga naa siya 7 ka buok kanang circles nga small circles then each kanang side niya is kanang isiga kilid na say dagko nga kanang holes nga moadto sabi imuhaning balay diri niya sa pikas ihasang balay. So mo siya na kay 7 ka small circles ug siya sad na say 7.
How to play this game? The game begins with 49 game pieces, equally distributed to alternate holes, 7 pieces in every hole, except the heads which remain empty. The goal is to accumulate as many pieces in your own head. The first player removes all pieces from the hole on the extreme left of on his side. He then distributes them anti-clockwise, one in each hole to the right of that hole, omitting an opponent's head but not the player's own head. If the last piece falls into an occupied hole, then all the pieces are removed from that hole and are distributed in the same way. This player's turn ends when the last piece falls into an empty hole on the opponent's side. If the last piece distributed falls into a player's own head, then the player earns another turn which can begin at any of the 7 holes on his side. If the last piece distributed falls into an empty hole on his side, the player captures all the pieces in the hole directly across from this one on the opponent's side and put them on his own head. If a player has no pieces on his side of the board, when it is his turn, then he must pass. The game ends when no pieces are left in any hole on both sides of the board. The players now count the number of pieces in their own head and see who has won.
Lesson 15. Ang pinaka-last nga lesson nato guys. So, diri lesson 15 is all about arnis. So, ang arnis di ay mo ni siya ang also called as kali or eskrima nga mo'y national martial arts ato sa Pilipinas. Kiba mo mana? Wala. So ang origin aning arnis guys kay gikan pagid siya sa atong mga ninuno gid no pare atong nilang lapu-lapu ilahang mga old style fighting techniques parang lapu-lapu niya. Nabot silang Magellan so muna ilang gigamit kanang arnis unsay mga fighting ana. So nasaglan pagid dayon na sa fencing nga gikan sa Spain pag-abot nila diri ni Magellan. So na-combine na din na ug mao na ang arnis nato karon. Pero ang founder sa modern nga arnis is mao ni si Remy Arnado Presas usa ka Pilipino. So one thing sa guys nga kalahian ang arnis ug ang eskrima same rin sila. Pero lang ang arnis mo ni siya ang gigamit sa Northern Philippines nga gitawag ani but kita nga nasa Middle and Southern Philippines atong gigamit isang eskrima. Pero kining kali guys mo ni siya ang worldwide name sa aning stick fighting. So pero wala kitang mga Pilipino wala ta ni gamit ana. We only knew or gitawag ra nato sila og arnis og eskrima.
The two major types of arnis practiced as sports are the system followed by the WICAF or World Eskrima Kali Arnis Federation, which was established in 1989. The other one is the Arnis Philippines or the RP that was established in the year 1986. There are 4 major equipments of arnis. First is the wooden stick. The wooden stick shall measure not less than 60 centimeters and not more than 90 centimeters in length with a diameter of not less than 1.3 centimeters and not more than 3.8 centimeters. It must not have sharp edges or pointed ends. Next is the wooden replica of a bladed weapon. The wooden replica shall measure not less than 60 centimeters and not more than 90 centimeters in full length and must not have sharp edges or pointed ends. Next is foam cushion material. Each padded stick shall be properly fume cushioned and shall have a maximum grip diameter of not more than 3.81 centimeters and length of 76.20 centimeters. The length of padded stick shall be 27 inches for boys and girls. Lastly is the head protector. Refers to a pair of protective headgear to include an impact-worthy face mask. Here are some of the protective gears used in arnis. We have the body protector, the groin protector, and the forearm and shin guard. The competition area that is a square measuring 8 meters by 8 meters with a 2 meters minimum free zone around it, and a clear space without any obstruction up to a height of not less than 5 meters from a playing surface.
So mao na to siya tanan guys ang atong topic sa PE3 Hope na amoy na learn og karon kung nakakita na mo ani, advance na mo og sure kay ko 1.0 na din mo. So kung sa pay gidugayan nyo, enroll na mo PE3 guys. Sayon ra kaayo. Basta di lang gid mo magpalit og pass, parehan ako. Okay kay tanan. Bye bye.